Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another episode of Married at First Sight, Season 11, Episode 6, I See Red Flags. Now, I watched these two episodes back to back, Episode 6 and Episode 7, and it was a couple of days ago. So, I don't know if I'm going to remember everything, even though I took notes. I'm out of breath because it took a lot for me to be where I'm at right now. Man, the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Okay. So, episode 6, they're still in Cancun. They're still on their honeymoon. And I don't want to go through all my notes, through all the details. I just want to get to the meat of it. Now, let's talk about what was the most important thing between Amani and Woody. The most important thing between Amani and Woody is that they consummated their marriage. So, yay for them. And I feel like, and this is not to throw shade to their relationship, to Woody or anything like that, but I really do think that Woody's main goal was to get in her drawers. I really do think that that was what he was trying to do before they left Mexico. Woody is a smooth talker. He's a charmer. He has what it takes. He's got that charisma. He knows how to use his words. He has what it takes. And, he's a little cutie patootie. So everything was perfectly aligned and he got what he wanted. Now, I'm not trying to say that he really doesn't like her, that he's only after one thing. I'm not saying that at all. I believe that he does feel for her. He does have feelings for her, that he likes her, he's attracted to her, all that good stuff. But I also do believe that his goal was to consummate the marriage before they left Mexico. He got what he wanted. Evidently, she got what she wanted and what she needed because she said it was the best that she ever had. Another thing about them was that Amani keeps on bringing up concerns with, when we get back home, is it still going to be this nice? Because in her past, relationships start off really good and then they fizzle out. And Woody keeps reassuring her that it will still be just as good. So let's keep our fingers crossed. I like this couple. I have probably a 70%. I believe that they have a 70% chance of saying that they'll stay together at the, what do they call it? Decision-making day. Let's go on to Olivia and Brett. Very problematic couple. The meat of this was, there was a scene where all the couples had gotten together, and Amani has started off the conversation with, how physical has everybody gotten so far. Everybody gave their little status. And wait a minute, Olivia and Brett, I forgot what they said. It really wasn't them that I wanted to mention. It was another couple. So forget that I said that. Olivia and Brett. Okay, at the couples gathering, the couples lunch, or whatever you want to call it, when they all got together for drinks, they separated the men and the women. So after all the small talk, the women all left to go to the bar. The men stayed at the table. And the women were asking each other, how would you rate your husband? And Amani says she would rate Woody, I think she said a 9. Amelia says she would rate Bennett an 8, I think she said. Excuse me. So on and so forth. Olivia said that she would rate Brett a 7. And he had overheard that. And evidently they didn't sit very well with him. So when the guys were rating their wives, when it came to his turn, he said that he wasn't going to give a number because he gave this long, drawn out, theoretical, philosophical reason of why he didn't believe it was good to give your partner or your marriage a rating, a numerical value. It was demeaning, it was dehumanizing, and how can you take something as complex as, a human relationship and, just stick a number to it. So he didn't give her a number. But later on that evening, when they were back in their hotel, they were in bed, and Olivia was trying to start up a conversation with him about, so what do you look forward to when we get back home to New Orleans? What do you plan on doing? What do you want to do? And he gives really short, curt, rude responses, such as, oh, I'm gonna play with my cat, we're still gonna be filming, I'm gonna film, whatever. And she's kind of like trying to figure out what's wrong with him. So he gave her like a really bad attitude that night. She was trying to figure out what was wrong with him. She was trying to tell him that, look, if there's something bothering you, I need you to communicate. I need you to explain to me. You know, if I did something, if I said something, you have to let me know. And he was just kind of like, no, everything's fine. And he had just completely shut down. And she didn't understand why. And it was hurting her. So she runs off to the bathroom crying. The next morning is when he decided to let her know, hey, I'm sorry how I acted last night. So he did apologize. But my issue was that you had rated me a 7. And I'm like, okay, why is that a problem with you? So I don't want to talk too much about that conversation. He apologized. They got through it. Fine. They resolved the issue. What I want to talk about is, why did he have to be so snippy with her? You know, they probably don't love each other yet, but this is your wife. If anything, the people in your family, your spouse, your children, you should always treat them with kindness. You should always be delicate with them, thoughtful. You should always be concerned about how they're feeling, what they're thinking, because this is your family. And there was an issue. It doesn't even matter what the issue was. I don't give a damn about the ratings or the numbers. There was an issue. And she's trying to communicate with him, and he's shutting down, and he's being rude about it. And if this is how he argues, and this is how he resolves conflicts, she's in for a very rude awakening. And I feel really bad for Olivia, because I've always thought that Brett was a bit of an a-hole, and every single episode he kind of proves me right. And every single time that I hear him talk, especially when he talks about, you know, how he's falling for her and how he feels for her and he's attracted to her, I keep an open mind waiting for those words to come into fruition, to actually see him act the way he talks. And I never do. Instead, I get this a-hole where your wife is reaching out to you, trying to figure out, you know, what's the problem, and you're shutting her down. And then later, after you've had a good night's rest, and now you want to make all nice, now, oh, I'm sorry, this is the reason why I was mad, and you want her to get over it. I thought that was just lame. Another issue about Olivia and Brett, after the couples meeting, Brett and Olivia met with Henry and Christina. And keep in mind, Christina has a lot of issues in her marriage, but Christina felt the need to pull Olivia to the side and say, hey, you know, you need to keep your eye on Brett. You need to pay attention to him, because to me, he's just a F-boy. And I was like, Christina, that's pretty drastic. I mean, why would you tell her that? Why would you use that terminology? He's just a F-boy. Why would you say that to him? Not to him, to her. Why? Why couldn't you just say, if you really felt like you needed to stick your nose into someone else's marriage, why couldn't you just say, hey, I don't know if you've noticed, but I have some concerns about the way Brett's been treating you, how Brett's been acting, and these are my concerns. Maybe they have no foundation, they have no basis, but I'm just looking out for you. You just came right out with it. Hey, you know, your husband's got issues and he's just an F-boy. It's just like, oh, Christina. Okay. Whatever. So, okay, that was that, because I got to get to episode 7 too, y'all. So let me hurry up and get through this. Amelia and Bennett, they're fine. Everything about them is fine. Bennett had talked about how, I think he was comparing his marriage to Amelia to something. I don't know how this came up, but Bennett had mentioned about falling for someone when you rarely even know them. I think he was talking about Amelia. You know, how you fell for how you can fall for someone you don't even really know them that well. And Amelia said, well, it's a funny thing you should say that, because I wrote a song about it. And then she whips out her guitar and she sings this song, and it was a cute little song that she sang about falling for someone that you don't really know. And it was such a cute little song. At first I was kind of scared when she pulled out her guitar and started singing. I was like, oh my God, this is not going to be good. But it ended up being really good. Like, I really liked that song. So Amelia and Bennett, they're fine. They have a lot of similarities. They also were talking about, you know, when they have children, what kind of parents they're going to be, and they both agree that they're going to be like those really chill, laid back parents who are not going to be too demanding or too strict on their kids. So they both agree with that. So they're doing fine. Christina and Henry. Still the same issues. Christina keeps talking about how she needs Henry to be aggressive. She's used to a more take charge alpha type male, a more masculine type of male, and Henry is not delivering that at all. Henry I thought in episode 6, he was a little bit more alive. Somebody had breathed a little bit more life into him. And I thought he was a little bit more talkative. He made a little bit more eye contact, but he is beginning to notice Christina and how the bitchiness is starting to come out. He is beginning to notice that. I don't know if she's bringing that out against him, but she's definitely bringing it out against the world around her. One example that they gave was when someone in production called her Christine instead of Christina, and she corrected them and said it's Christina. So the show, I guess, wanted to use this as an example of how bitchy she can be. I don't think it was that bitchy. I didn't think it was that bad. Excuse me. But it just added fuel to the fire for Henry, because I guess he noticed that and he didn't like that. When they all met with the other couples, when they were talking about, like, how far have y'all gotten intimate wise, both Henry and Christina declined to say anything at all. And that was kind of strange. Like, who cares? Y'all are all going through the same thing. Are y'all ashamed that y'all haven't progressed as much as everybody else, and that's why you don't want to talk about it? It's not a big deal to say we're still getting to know each other. We're taking it real slow, and just leave it at that. But for you to say, oh, we'd rather not say, you kind of like bringing attention to something that's not that big of a deal, like making something bigger than what it should be. So they're still struggling. Karen and Miles. Okay, so this is the one where Miles reveals to Karen that he was diagnosed with clinical depression and that he does take medication for it. Now, I felt really bad for Karen because she has issues. She's had issues with Miles since day one. From what she saw on Instagram, she didn't like him. She has an issue with the age difference, come to find out. She has an issue with a lot of stuff. And this is just like another one that she has to deal with. She took it in stride. She didn't react. She was asking very good questions, really good questions, very mature questions. She was like, well, if you need to be alone, how would you communicate that to me? And he told her, I would just tell you that I'm not having a good day and I just need some time to myself or whatever. So they talked about that, which was good, very mature of them to discuss that. At the couples meeting, she rated him a 6 and he rated her an 8. And, but she also is someone that wants someone more masculine. Now that's interesting that Christina and Karen want more masculinity in their husbands. We can see why Christina wants it, but I'm trying to think of as far as why Karen feels like she needs someone more masculine. Karen's whole thing about Miles was that he's too emotional. He shows too much emotion. I haven't seen that yet in what we've seen so far. Like, he's lacking masculinity. I haven't really seen that. So I'm not sure what she means by that. When they had breakfast one morning, this was on day 7 of the honeymoon. When they were having breakfast, he asked her about intimacy. Like, when where were they on that? And she kind of was like, hey, when I feel ready, when I get more comfortable. They're not progressing either as far as that, because, well, they're progressing more than Henry and Christina, but they're nowhere near Woody and Amani, which I don't think anybody is. And how is it with them? I think Karen tries, but it's the kind of trying that she's conscious of it. Now, it's one thing to kind of like to naturally touch each other, like to naturally just grab each other's hands, or to naturally lay your head on his shoulder, to naturally kind of put arms around each other. Y'all know what I'm talking about, how that can just kind of happen. You don't even put thought into it. And I think with Karen and Miles, they put a lot. I think if she is physically trying to connect with him, she's putting a lot of thought into it. She's probably like, oh, it's time for me to hold his hand or something like that. It's forced. I think that's what I'm trying to say. I really haven't seen them getting physical with each other, other than when they awkwardly were trying to sleep in that hammock together. And it just sort of, I haven't really seen much, so I'm not going to speak much on that. So I think I covered everybody on episode 6. Okay, that's episode 6. Episode 7 was when they were moving in together. So they come back from Mexico and they move into the home that they're going to be sharing. All of them are living in the same apartment complex, and they're going to go to each other's homes and pack up stuff. So what stuck out with Amelia and Bennett? So when we went to go see Amelia's house, when she went to go pack up her home, she lived in a huge house. They refer to it as a mansion. It probably was. It was a huge house that she shares with like 6 or 7 other people. It was a really nice house. Bennett's house was a little tiny house that he had built himself, a 1-room house. And the bathroom facilities are somewhere else, aren't even in the home. He goes somewhere else to do all that. And I don't even know if it had a kitchen. It was like a little tiny 1-room house. It was very Bennett. And the thing is, Amelia loved it. Amelia absolutely loved his tiny home. And I'm glad that she did. She was really impressed by it. She said that it showed how creative, unique, talented Bennett was. Because he had a whole bunch of his own little knickknacks, his own little inventions. You know, it was so Bennett. It really reflected who he was. And I think that's why she really liked it. But it was a cute little home. Pastor Cal came to visit Amelia and Bennett. And they talked about the possibility of Amelia having to move if she gets a residency out of state. And there was still no resolution with that. Bennett wasn't saying that he was okay with it. And Amelia didn't say that she would decline leaving because she would have to for her job. So that's still kind of up in the air if Bennett would or wouldn't. I don't see, okay, I'm not even going to speak on it because I don't know anything about doctors' residencies, like how long they last. But if it was something that lasted a few months, I would see nothing wrong with her still leaving the state to go do her residency and him staying in New Orleans. But if it's something that takes years, then yeah, they need to talk about that. And as far as children, they talked about that as well. You know, they're both open to adopting and having biological children. You know, she's kind of turned Bennett around on that because he said that he would never have biological kids. Now he says that he would. Karen and Miles. So this is the episode where she talked about the age difference. That it's like it's bothering her. I think Karen is looking for things to not like him. She's trying to manifest the negativity. That's what I think. Because he's a good looking guy. The thing is that kind of bothers me is that, and the truth is, you can have 2 good people that just are not going to get along. They're just not going to click. There's just not going to be any chemistry. And there's nothing wrong with either one of them. Nothing wrong with him. Nothing wrong with her. They just want different things for themselves and from each other. And that person is just not your person. And I think that's Karen and Miles. I think Karen is trying to manifest negativity because she talks about all the issues that she has with the relationship. I don't think she's really giving it, you know, a chance. But maybe she doesn't have to give it a chance if this guy is just not for her. So she has to hang up with the age. She talks about that. She's really noticing the age difference. I think there was a scene when they went to his house? No, I don't know. At some point they talked about video games and like she had an issue with him playing video games. And I'm like, women in 2020, if y'all are having issues with your grown men playing video games, you're going to have to get over it. Video games are no longer for children. Video games are for full-grown adults, men and women. That's just how it is in 2020. You're just going to have to get used to it. I've seen too many grown men who like to play video games. As long as it's not taking over your life and getting in the way of your responsibilities, what's the big deal? All grown men are playing video games, it seems like. Okay, I don't really care about what they thought of each other's houses. That really doesn't matter to me. So Pastor Cal came over to visit Karen and Miles. Karen said she didn't feel married. Okay, that can go either way. Either you don't feel married because this isn't working for you, or you don't feel married because I don't see, it hasn't really kicked in yet. Now that y'all are living together and have to deal with real life issues and y'all are away from paradise, she probably is going to start feeling very married. The attraction part, Karen is using this, when they talk about intimacy and the attraction and this and that, of course, we all know Miles, he wants Karen. He wanted her since, yesterday. She's saying that he's still a stranger. I don't really know him. So she's using that whole thing. She doesn't like PDA. She doesn't like, and physical closeness is weird to her. So they had a long discussion about that. She keeps, and I keep on saying, so forgive me. She talked about how she doesn't feel comfortable with the physical contact, PDA, and she's afraid of getting hurt. And so I guess in a way she's saying she's not ready to open up, or she's too scared to open up to Miles, to take it to that, like, to really get raw with who they are to each other and what's going on, to really open up her heart, open up her soul to him, to really take that chance, that leap of faith into this relationship, because she doesn't want to get hurt. Understandably, because she went through something pretty traumatic when she was with someone for years, and then he has an affair on her, and the affair leads to a child. So I understand, but like, why are you on this show then? If you're not ready, you're still dealing with that, you don't want to trust anybody, and you want to stay closed up, why are you on this show? So either you're gonna do what's expected of you, which is to give it a chance and open up and try to get closer to your husband, not physically, but emotionally closer to him, or you shouldn't have signed up. You should have stayed home and just dealt with your issues, go to counseling, or do whatever you had to do and deal with your issues. Because you know you're going on a show where you're going to be married, and there's a really high chance that your husband is going to end up falling in love with you, and you just can't stay closed up and talking about, oh, I'm just so scared to feel, I'm scared to touch, I'm scared to do this, and I don't want. If you're not ready, cool, we get it, you're not ready, but you signed up for a show where you kind of have to be ready for those things. I just don't get it. So Miles had mentioned that he puts his feelings on a back burner because he sees how distant she is. And she tells him, don't put your feelings on the back burner because I need to know how you're feeling. This is a way for us to communicate. You know, I want you to tell me how you're feeling. Don't put your feelings on a back burner. So that's good. Now, let me tell you what I really think about Karen and Miles. To me, it seems like she's not attracted to him. I don't think she's attracted to him. This is a show that really pushes getting to know the person and developing an attraction for someone based on who they are and how they can make you feel and what they can do for you. This is not a show like a dating show, like, you know, like where everything is really based on that instant chemistry, that instant attraction. This is not that kind of a show. So, but in reality, when these couples are not feeling it physically, the whole thing is a struggle. It ends up being a huge struggle. Either you're going to immediately feel attracted to your partner and it's all smooth sailing when y'all are attracted to each other, or there's going to be no attraction on both parts or one of your parts, and then the whole thing is a fail. I don't think Karen is attracted to Miles, and I think it's going to take a long time because he said when they're having a conversation, I think it was just back in Mexico, it was over breakfast, when he talked about, so kind of like, he didn't say this verbatim, but something to the effect of, okay, so how are you feeling on intimacy? And she says, well, you know, it'll happen whenever I'm comfortable. It could happen tomorrow. It could happen 6 weeks from now. It could happen never. And he was like, okay, I don't know about never. I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to give you all the room, all the space you want, but I don't know about never. And she kind of was like, if that's how I feel, that's how I feel. That's how I interpreted it. I could be wrong. So Christina and Henry. Okay, I'm losing light and I'm losing time, so I'm going to just get into it. Christina and Henry, okay, they go to each other's house. Now, no, they didn't go to each other's house. They went to Henry's house. They didn't go to Christina's house. So when they met, Christina said that when they got married, Christina said that she lived in the CBD area, which I'm thinking it means Central Business District. And so when they were, you know, packing up their stuff, they were supposed to go to Christina's house to pack up her stuff. But when she showed up to Henry's house or wherever they met at, she had her stuff already packed. So they were not going to her home at all. And so Henry is questioning whether or not she actually lives in this central business district. I don't know why he would question that, but he's definitely questioning it. Like, he didn't understand why they couldn't go to her home to pack up, or for him to get a gander of her home to see how she lived. Because, you know, Dr. Pepper says you can tell a lot about someone by the house they keep. So he didn't get that opportunity. He didn't get that chance, as if she was trying to hide where she actually lives. So that was weird. Then Pastor Cal came, and Pastor Cal, he said something that I didn't agree with, and I agree with him most of the time, but I didn't agree with this. Pastor Cal says something about developing chemistry because he told Henry that if he were to make a move, Christina would be down. And Henry was talking about how he's taking it really slow. He's not ready. He wants to get to know her, all that BS. And something prompted Pastor Cal to say something about, well, if there's no chemistry, you can create chemistry. And I don't agree with that. If there's no chemistry between two people, there's just no chemistry. Chemistry to me is something that's a little bit different than attraction. I think you can develop an attraction over time when you really get to know someone. Maybe physically you weren't feeling them, but then you get to know them, and then you become attracted to them as you get to know them as a person. It's the way they think, the way they do things, the way they talk, the way, whatever it is. It would be something, as you get to know them better, you can become more attracted to them. Whereas chemistry, it's either there or it's not. Chemistry can happen between two strangers. Chemistry can happen, whatever. Chemistry is something that I think cannot be forced. It cannot be created. It cannot be developed. It's either there or it's not. It's just that thing that makes you feel, like electricity all through your body when you see this person. Either it's there or it's not. And if he doesn't have that chemistry with her, that's how I view chemistry. Maybe other people see it differently, but that's how I see chemistry. It's like something that's just instantaneous. That's just there. Almost like a biological reaction that you have to someone. It has no rhyme or no reason. And if Henry doesn't have it, he doesn't have it. And I kind of get the feeling that Henry and Olivia, I kind of get the feeling that Henry is not attracted to, not Olivia, Christina. I don't think Henry's attracted to Christina. I don't know if it's her attitude that threw him off. I don't know what it is, but something about her threw him all the way off. And I don't think he's attracted to her at all. And I think that's why it's easy for him to not be aggressive and all that stuff that she's looking for. I don't think she's going to find it in Henry. Let me see if there's anything else important about them. No, I think that's about it. So, Olivia and Brett. Now, when they went to Brett's house and she saw that he had these big screen monitors, she asked him about it, and he gave her some generic answer, like, whatever. I don't know. He said something like, I just like big screen. I don't know what he said. To her, she was like, and that's when I knew that my husband was a gamer. And what? So what? Why do so many women have an issue with men playing video games? Video games are designed, a lot of games are designed for adults. They're no longer just for kids. This is not Mario Brothers and Pac-Man. this is some advanced technological stuff. So, anyways, she has a problem with him gaming. Another thing, when Brett went to Olivia's house, he described her home as really sterile. Once again, he gives constant clues and hints that he's really not into her. And when he does say things like, oh, I'm falling for my wife and I'm attracted to her, I think he says that because he thinks that's what he's supposed to say, not because he means it. But when he said that her home was sterile, I think he meant that. She wants them, when all this is over and done with, when they're done with the show, she wants them to permanently move into her home because she likes her home. Her home is really nice. And he says he didn't see himself living there. Once again, he's trying to manifest negativity. When Pastor Cal came, there was a huge breakdown. So the issue is that it's money. Olivia said she makes a lot of money. She makes enough money where she can enjoy the finer things in life, and she likes the finer things in life. She likes to buy expensive things. She likes to travel, and she wants to travel well. She wants to travel the world, whatever. That's what she wants to do. That she wants to have fun. She wants to enjoy her hard work. What is the point of working and working and working, slaving away day and night to accumulate money, and then you don't do anything with it? So I get her. He was the one that said, look, I can't afford that. I have a budget. I stay within my budget. He's very careful with his money, and he doesn't really see himself buying expensive things and taking expensive trips. And so that's just not in his future. He doesn't see that. And so Olivia was like, well, I plan on traveling and doing all these things, and I want you to do that with me. And he was like, well, I can't afford it. And I'm thinking that what I didn't understand, and I think I probably missed it, was if they're traveling together, wouldn't she pay for him? If he couldn't afford it, I don't know. Maybe his thing is, Mom, every single dollar I make is earmarked for something, and I have no room to put money away for travel, for vacations. I have no room for that. And so if we travel, you have to pay for it. And I think she's basically saying that she's not willing to do that. I think she wants them to like combine their monies together and use it that way. And I think he's like, well, I'm not going to put my money into something that I don't agree with. And I don't agree with expensive vacations. So I'm thinking that's where it is. But it was a huge breakdown, complete breakdown, because he complained about how she doesn't budget. She doesn't know how to budget. She says that she does know how to budget because she budgets her vacation and her playtime. She budgets that into her budget. And so they're like seeing things completely differently with that. So that's like going to be huge as far as how are they going to get through that. And I kind of think Brett's making a big deal about it. I think he's just creating things to make sure that this does not work out. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, moving on to Amani and Woody. Their huge thing when Dr. Cal came over was everything was going fine. Oh, they didn't use protection. They're not that careful. They are using it and not using it. So it's like a hit and miss. And so Pastor Cal was like, y'all need to take that a little bit more seriously. And Woody's like, he wants a honeymoon baby. He doesn't really care. And of course, Amani's going to want that too. She has no problem with that either. So, that was kind of strange to me how, like, they weren't using protection, because you don't know how this is going to work out. You don't know where this is going. You don't want to make a baby, and then on decision day, you decide that y'all don't want to be together. It's kind of scary. So, they talked about that. And then an issue came up with communicating. Woody was basically saying that he needs his wife to communicate. You know, any decisions that they make, they have to have communication. They have to communicate with each other. And I think he was the one that gave the example of, I don't know, somehow the conversation came up with, if Amani wanted to just chop her hair off and just be bald, Amani said, I have the right to do that. Woody said, you're going to have to talk about it with me first. And Amani was like, why would I have to talk to you about what I want to do with my hair? It's my hair, my body. Why do I have to discuss that with you? Woody was like, well, that affects both of us, because if I'm not attracted to you anymore, there's going to be a problem. So you're going to have to communicate that with me. And she's like, I don't have to communicate anything with you if it's concerning my body. And so they went back and forth on that. And then Woody said, okay, this is what I'm really trying to say. And he talked about how he was seeing a woman. The woman got pregnant by him, and she had an abortion without communicating with him about it at all. He had no say-so. He didn't even have the opportunity to say, look, I support you. If you want to terminate the pregnancy, I will support you, and I'm here for you. He didn't even have the opportunity to do that, let alone the opportunity to say, don't do it. So to him, before a woman makes a major decision, he wants communication. And so when she was talking about, then she understood where he was coming from. She totally understood that. She's like, okay, now I understand what you're saying, but, you know, I still want you to understand that if it's something to do with my body, I still have the right to do what I want with my body. And he was like, I just want us to talk about it. That's it. So that was the whole thing there. It was a whole communication thing. And, you know, she kind of was like, well, if I would decided to shave my head bald and you didn't like it, that's telling me that you're not really attracted to me, the person. You're just attracted to the superficial. And, you know, whatever. So they were both making good points. It's important to communicate. I think that if you're going to go chop your hair off, I don't see anything wrong with discussing that with your husband first, just to kind of get a feel of how he's going to take it. And then maybe you can convince him it's a good thing. It's good to communicate. Don't just show up with a bald head and not give your husband any fair warning. And I understand that the bald head thing was just an example to express a point of, you know, she has the right to do what she wants with her body. And he's basically saying, that's true, I agree, but I also need you to communicate. So, yeah. That was the end of that. I did it. Okay, y'all. I know y'all can't see me, but I really wanted to get this review out of the way. And join me next time when I have more light and you can see my face a little bit better. But thank you for joining me, and we'll see each other next time. Bye.